Hey guys, back with another Hard Magnus video here, this time on the DB that I played a while back. This time I have a couple weeks of experience in, and so I wanted to share you how I've sort of maximized my DPS and reduced my time to hit my PR that I hit in this run. So kind of right off the bat, I don't know if you saw, I used Final Cut, sorry, and then the first thing I did was use Dark Sight and then my Azura 170 hyper just to maximize the uptime on it. I like to combine Dark Sight and Azura just so that I don't get knocked back on it. I can just stand there. It doesn't have a wide horizontal range, so I need to use it properly so that I can maximize the uptime since it is the biggest damage dealer that DBs have. And so the first tip that I have for my DB players out there trying to do Hard Magnus is notice that I'm using that chain skill that allows for that's a second iframe, that purple skill. It's on a 1 minute cooldown. And this allows me to use Dark Sight offensively, like I said, pairing it with that hyper, and it's still having that iframe to get me out of sticky situations when I need to. So this allows me not only to maximize DPS, minimize deaths, but also minimize PEs as well. And then one of the other tips that I've learned along the way playing DB was making sure that I use my sudden raid to reduce the cooldown of Final Cut, so I can use that as another iframe, but also for the DPS burst. You saw right there, my Dark Sight and Azura was back up, so I used it to pair it. I usually like to do it after that second fly down ability, because he's not dashing, Magnus isn't dashing back and forth, and I can pretty much just stand there and DPS. And then other than that, really for DBs, it's maximizing the V skill, the 200 skill. Make sure you're getting up as much uptime on that as possible. I like to use it with the spin abilities. You see I use the iframe right there to get me out of that situation. But back to the 200 skill, I like to use it either right after he does that second fly up ability when he's doing that spin skill, or right after he does the first spin skill, he does the slow debuff, because it immunes the slow, saves me a little bit on all cures and that that lack of speed. Therefore, see right there, I resisted the slow, and I'm still doing damage. Jump out, jump in real quick, allowing me to still do as much uptime as possible. And then I was able to use my Azura right there, maximize the uptime on it, and I still have Dark Sight available. So just another great option is to have both iframes up, especially at the later end of the fight. And then you see right there, I used Final Cut right as he was about to drop down. It allowed me to immune that first spin ability, a small, short cooldown, but if you use it effectively, it's very handy, as you noticed right there, just avoiding damage, especially at the end of the fight. And here I'm using my V skill, my hyper, and basically chunking him down real quick. I haven't used a single PE yet, but this is where kind of the fun begins, right? The hardest part of Magnus. And one of the main things I learned, got hit right there, was able to use my iframe, get back in it, use a couple PEs, unfortunately. But one of the things I learned about DB and their damage output is most of their damage comes from their two main skills, their hyper and their 200 V skill. Right, so when those skills are on cooldown, I'm really not trying to do as much damage as possible. I'm just trying to survive, make sure that he's positioned in the right areas out of the poisons, and so that I have time to, set myself up correctly so that when my offensive cooldowns, those skills do come back off of cooldown, I'm in a good position to maximize them. And you see right here, easy peasy, back to back, 170, 200 V skill. Finish him off, use 4 total PEs, no deaths, really smooth run. And you'll see the official time at the end right here, 4:14, extremely smooth, burst is insane. And I'll show you the DPS, his stats right here at the end. Let me know if this helps you with your Hard Magnus runs. If you have any questions, comment below. Thanks for watching.